Hi, how old are you?
I am 21.
Where were you born?
I was born here in Nova Scotia,
Where did you grow up?
also in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Okay, where were your parents born?
Libya.
When did your parents come to Canada?
In the early 90s.
Why was Canada chosen?
They came here to study, so they were accepted in universities here, so they came.
Okay, do you have any brothers and sisters?
Yep, I have one older brother, one younger sister, and one younger brother.
Where are they born?
All of them born here in Halifax.
Okay, what's the occupation of your parents?
My dad is a teacher and my mom is a doctor.
What's your marital status?
Single.
How would you describe your ethnic background?
Arab.
Thank you. How would you describe your your religious background? Were religious, atheist, liberal, traditional, Salafi?
Sunni Muslim Maliki, I guess.
Okay. So you're a Canadian citizen?
Mm-hmm.
How long have you lived in Canada?
My whole life, 21 years.
Okay. What's your highest education degree?
High school, I guess. I'm currently working on a bachelor.
Okay. What kind of elementary and secondary school did you attend? Private, public, Islamic?
I attended private Islamic school.
Thank you. Are you student?
Yes,
In which field of study?
I'm in the arts. I'm studying English and history.
Okay. Do you feel a generational or cultural or linguistic or religious gap with your parents?
Not really. Maybe slightly. Maybe.
Has your internet usage increased or decreased in the last 5 years?
Definitely increased.
On average, how many hours per day or per week, per month do you use the internet?
I'd say per day. Goodness, it's probably between 6 to 7 hours, maybe more.
Thank you. And on topic of what do you do online, do you use the internet for religious or spiritual life?
Sometimes, like I watch lectures or use apps for a hadith and stuff like that.
Okay, how is the internet impacting or affecting your religious or spiritual practices, beliefs, values, or attitudes?
I guess it makes it possible to, like I said, listen to lectures and things like that, but to see how other Muslims think, I guess, like online on Twitter and stuff like that. But it doesn't really change my perspective.
Thank you. Do your faith, beliefs, and practices affect how you use the internet and what you do online?
Yeah, I think so. Like it dictates what I do and don't do, or what I would say and that kind of thing.
Thank you. Do you have any faith-based on based limitations when you're using the internet?
Faith-based limitations? Not consciously, but because I've been a Muslim my whole life and I've been using the internet my whole life, there's certain things I just never did, I guess. So I guess that's a faith-based limitation, but it's not something I was like, oh, I'm never gonna do this. It's something that I just never did, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Do you think the internet enhances your faith or operates more as a distraction or changes your faith in any way?
I think it enhances it, especially sometimes if, like, for example, living in a Western country, some things can be difficult, like wearing hijab and stuff like that, or fasting. But then when you see first of all, I have friends who are Muslim, but also when you see people online who have the same troubles, you can relate to one another and you can feel sort of support or like community.
Thank you. Do you think, in general, for you, in your religious life, internet works for better or for worse?
I think in general for better, although it can be a distraction sometimes.
Okay, thank you. How do you identify yourself religiously and nationally? Like, do you see yourself as a Canadian Muslim, a Muslim Canadian?
I usually identify as a Muslim Canadian.
Thank you. Do you tend to have friends of the same ethnic or religious background as you, or not?
Before I came to university, I did, because I went to an Islamic school, but after coming to university, I've met more Muslims, but I've also met lots of non-Muslim friends.
Thank you. So, do you have any reason why this might be so, or just?
Just because the program that I'm in, the arts program, there's not a lot of Muslims, so it just happened that a lot of my friends are not Muslim.
Thank you. Has the circle of your offline friends changed as you grow older?
Oh yeah.
In what ways?
It's more diverse, I guess.
Thank you. Has the circle of your online friends changed also?
Yes.
Again, in what ways?
I've met more like Muslims, more Libyans, but also lots of people who are not Muslim or not Libyan, through random interests.
Thank you. Do you change your way of behaving depending on the ethnic or cultural background of the group of friends you're with?
Yes.
What about when you're with Muslims versus non-Muslims?
Yeah, I guess like when it comes to like religious things, I'm more open about them with other Muslims for obvious reasons, I guess. Like when I have to go pray or just talking about whatever issues, just because it's just easier. And sometimes if with like a friend who doesn't understand, it's just awkward, and I just don't feel like explaining. So.
Okay, what about online? Do you change your behaving?
A little, not that much.
Okay, thank you. Do you feel a generational or cultural or linguistic or religious gap with your parents?
Sometimes like a cultural one or like maybe a generational one, but it's not that big. Like I'm pretty open with my parents. So
Thank you. Would you discuss with your parents all your online interests and activities?
probably not.
Why?
Just because there's some they wouldn't understand. They just think it's weird. Not that it's like inappropriate, they just wouldn't get it. So.
Thank you. Does gender play a role in how you socialize or do you not socialize or interact with some people?
Yeah.
Who do you socialize with? Mainly with the same gender?
Yeah. I don't have any guy friends.
Any ethnic, religious, or intellectual preferences?
Not really ethnic or religious, but maybe intellectual preferences, I guess. I don't like to hang out with people who are sort of politically conservative, like, or people who are racist, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you. Where do you socialize? Parks, coffee shops, community center, homes, mosques, school?
Mostly school. Other than that, maybe like at restaurants and stuff like that, but I don't actually go out that much.
Thank you. If you wish to remain gender segregated, how is this maintained online?
Online, I don't know. I don't really think about that much. If there's somebody I don't like, I just avoid them. You can just block people or not talk to them. So.
Okay. Do you find that online communities offer opportunities to find friends, companions, or a life partner?
I've definitely met friends online and people who I'd want to meet, but they're all like people who are friends or like girls. I don't really talk to guys online. I just find that really weird.
Have you used online communities this way to find friends?
Yeah, I've
New
met
friends?
some. Yeah.
Okay. How has the internet affected the way you feel connected to your Muslim and non-Muslim friends in Canada or in other places?
I guess one thing, having an online presence, you get to learn more about issues in Canada and outside of Canada, especially related to like Muslim issues. So I'm more in tune in that way. And there's something about knowing about these issues that makes it feel more like a community, like, whatever discrimination that you might face globally, if that makes sense.
Thank you. And which online communities or groups are you belong to in terms of Islam or religion?
What do you mean?
Do you have any online communities or groups that you're...
Yeah, I guess. There's like this one group, it's like Libyans who live outside of Libya that I'm a part of, and most of them are Muslim. Other than that, I don't really have like online communities. There's like a few related to like books or shows that I'm interested in, but yeah.
Thank you. Does information you find online and communities or people you relate to online affect your religious practices and beliefs offline?
Slightly. It makes me more enthusiastic about it as I've gotten older, just knowing, and especially on Twitter, like seeing the Muslim community on Twitter, which is in general pretty nice. It makes it feel like more of a community. It makes me feel more enthusiastic about, I guess, practicing religion, even though it can be difficult sometimes here in Canada.
Thank you. Uh, do you use the online media in practice of your faith? Like, are you buying religious goods online?
Yes, I buy all my hijabs online.
Okay. Are you accessing religious literature online?
Yeah, when I read Quran, I almost always read it online with with apps with translations and stuff
Okay,
like
like
that.
what kind of applications are you using?
There's of course what is it, Quran.org or Quran.com or something.
Applications, like in your phone.
Yeah, I deleted them now, but I used to have this hadith app. I forget what it's called. I have an adhan app. And I used to also have it was this app of like lectures by, what's that sheikh's name? Nouman Ali Khan or something.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Does your usage of the internet include visiting the sites to read Quran
Yes.
and sites that deal with the Islamic fiqh?
Sometimes I usually like read fiqh when if I have like a specific question. So.
Okay, and hadith searching online?
Sometimes sometimes read a hadith like just on an app or like, but usually I have like a little book.
Okay, Islamic blogs?
I follow like Muslim bloggers online, but I don't really follow that many that are like specifically religious.
Thank you. Arabic, okay. How do you decide whether an Islamic site is authentic or appropriate and that you can trust it?
That's a good question. I guess it depends on. Usually, I look up reviews. There are some websites that I really don't like. Like, there's this really popular one, Islam QA. It's really famous, and I just don't like it. I just don't really agree with it, and it's
okay. What signs do you look for to ensure it is authentic or appropriate?
I usually look for, like, for example, if I'm looking for a fatwa, I usually look if what ayahs they cite or what ahadith they cite, and then I can check the ahadith myself if I want, or I like when they give lots of opinions. Like, for example, they might have like the Hanafi opinion and the Shafi'i opinion, or like all of the schools of thought. I like that better than people who just give their one school of thought opinion or their personal opinion without any proof. And also, it's really helpful to read what people's online experiences are, like I said, like reviews, or even on Twitter, people who talk about their favorite sites.
Thank you. What are the Islamic websites that have had the most influence on you or that affected your beliefs or practices? Can you just name any of them?
Because I don't really check one specifically. I don't really know if I can name like one site that's been influential.
Okay, thank you. When you visit websites, are particular schools of the mazhab important in your determination of their appropriateness?
Sometimes, if it's like a Sunni madhab, then I'll usually read it anyway, even though I prefer Maliki. That's just how I was raised, I guess. Most North Africans follow Maliki, but if it has more than one school of thought, I appreciate that, because then you can read all the different opinions. I don't really read any Shia stuff.
Thank you. If you attend a mosque that's affiliated with a particular school of the mazhab, does it have an impact on your selection of the Islamic websites?
I don't think so. I don't know if any of the mosques in Halifax actually are like related to a specific madhab.
Okay, so do you accept or are you open to all interpretations and doctrines of Islam?
I'm interested in all of them.
Okay.
I don't know if I accept all of them, but I like to read about all of them.
Thank you. What kind of information do you find most helpful in an online context in comparison with an offline engagement with your religious beliefs and practices?
I guess, well, for example, if I'm asking something to a sheikh in real life, there's always, if you're asking something like a personal question that you're uncomfortable with, blah, blah, blah. Like online, it's easier, I suppose. But also online, you can continue to research and you can find different points of view versus if you're just talking to one sheikh, all you get is that one sheikh's opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there certain situations or moments where online spaces offer better support or Islamic information than offline spaces, like for more private matters, alternative?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, like I said, for private issues or things you just don't want to ask somebody face to face. But I mean, offline spaces are useful too, of course.
Thank
They
you.
both have their pros and cons.
What are your feelings encountering online interpretations of Islam that differ or conflict with your own beliefs and practices?
I usually, it actually doesn't bother me that much. It doesn't really affect me. Like some people get upset or they feel like it makes them doubtful, but I feel like I can really, from my point of view, is everyone can have their own point of view. Like I don't really care. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, I just ignore it, I guess.
Thank you. What would you be what would you consider a radical or very conservative websites?
Islam QA. I don't like that website. That's like the most conservative I've ever encountered, even though I know there's worse probably.
Have you encountered such radical or very conservative websites? Islam QA you mentioned.
Islam QA, but it's not like radical. It's just really conservative. But like, I guess sometimes on Memory TV they always have screenshots of really, I suppose you could say, radical opinions, but I just look at those as a joke, to be honest.
Thank you. Do you think they are easily identifiable?
I think so,
How?
because usually they just sound so ridiculous.
Thank you. How would you describe them?
I guess just like really close-minded, usually really misogynistic, and usually really like dogmatic. Like often their point of view isn't backed up with any evidence, and it just feels like cultural biases that they pretend is Islamic.
Thank you. If you seek out Islamic fiqh online, do you believe that it should be interpreted for a Muslim minority context?
I guess it depends on what it is. What do you mean by interpreted for a Muslim minority
Like a
context?
fatwa that
Yeah.
is in Turkey, in Libya, or in Saudi Arabia,
Oh,
in Pakistan.
Yeah.
When it comes to Canadian context, that where Muslims are a minority should be interpreted differently, or it should be as it is.
I think you should interpret it based on your context. That makes the most sense. Some fatwas people release are just ridiculous. Like you just can't follow it.
Okay, thank you. And do you see interpretations of the religious texts such as the Quran, Hadith, and legal fatwas as unchanging irrespective of place, time, or context?
No.
Thank you. Have your opinions to this end changed in the last 5 years?
Not really, actually.
Thank you. Which scholars or thinkers do you feel are most important as sources of religious authority?
I guess I think it's important to read old scholars like Maliki and stuff like that.
Can you just
Um,
name them?
Well, for example, like Tafsir Ibn Kathir. Those are, I think.
Not the persons, like the scholars, or can you just name the Ibn Kathir? Okay,
What do you mean?
like the people, persons, rather than their books.
Oh, well, Ibn Kathir, that's his
Okay.
name. Like I mentioned, Imam Malik. Those are like the main ones that I know, mainly because those are like the ones that my parents know.
Thank you. Okay. If you visit a Muslim website hosted in Canada of a secular organization that's from Canada, have you noted any differences between so-called local or national and non-Canadian or foreign perspectives?
By Muslim website, do you mean one related to religious stuff?
Yes.
I guess it depends. It depends because like if the website is hosted somewhere in a Muslim majority country, then usually it takes that into account versus if it's hosted in Canada, I suppose, and it takes into account where you're living and your minority status. I guess that's the main difference.
Can you describe how they differ in their presentation?
Just in what's expected, I suppose. Like if it's something, a religious duty, it might be able to describe your specific circumstance living in Canada. Like even if it's like wearing a hijab, like it might be more attuned to why that's more difficult here than it is in the Arab world, for example.
Okay. What Muslim group or community do you affiliate yourself with? Maliki
Usually I say like, yeah, Maliki Sunni, but I have lots of friends who are like Shia or not, so I
No,
don't.
no, yourself.
Oh, myself personally, yeah, Sunni, Maliki.
Is that because of family, friends, or personal choice?
Friend or family.
Thank you. Do you belong to a religious group or a mosque, not necessarily to a formal membership, but where you regularly attend?
No.
Okay. So you're
I don't go to I just go to any mosque that's closest to me. I don't go to like any one specific. Usually I pray here at Dal actually because I'm here a lot.
okay. Do you have a religious group here, like MSA, anything here?
There is an MSA, but I actually don't attend that
Okay.
often.
How regularly attend the mosque? The old mosques?
Not that often. I usually pray alone.
Thank you. What kind of okay then? That you don't attend the mosque. Are you belong to any Muslim community?
Not really.
Okay, thank you.
Like outside of my friends.
Do you use the internet to access information about Muslim events or gatherings?
Sometimes, like for example, the Ummah Mosque here, their website, I'll use it to, for example, check the prayer times or check what events they have.
Thank you. Are the online groups to which your offline friends belong different from yours?
Yeah, I think so. There's like a Islamic relief organization that a lot of my friends are part of, but I'm not really a part of it.
Thank you. Can you describe the type of activities in which you engage with online with your members of the group or faith committee? So you don't have any online group or faith committee online, yeah?
No.
Thank you. How much do you contribute or interact with others online?
In general?
Yes.
Quite a bit. I'm pretty active on like Facebook and Twitter.
Thank you. Have you joined Islam-related self-improvement activities?
Sometimes, like for example, during Ramadan, I don't go on Twitter. I like go on hiatus, and that's like something a lot of Muslims do. I guess it's a joint activity in that way.
No, like the weekend seminars, leadership seminars.
Oh. No.
Thank you. Have you taken any online?
I didn't take any online what?
Seminars, religious
Oh,
seminars?
no.
Okay, have you ever changed some of your beliefs before or after joining a group, whether offline or online, in terms of Islam?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you. How do you evaluate the quality of your time spent online?
Fine. It's not great. 'Cause
Okay.
usually, yeah.
Okay. Is it worth the time spent online, or do you feel you are wasting too much time online?
I procrastinate a lot, I guess, because most of my time is spent in school. So when I'm online, I'm either doing research or I'm just probably wasting time.
Thank you. Has an online community or religious group ever helped deepen your understanding of an issue?
Yeah, because whenever I need an answer about something, I go online. So.
Okay, or giving you some solidarity when you may have disagreed with the teachings of your faith community or family?
Yes, I'd say so.
Okay, have you found that the internet has provided with a faith community or a religious group that you otherwise might not have accessed?
Yes. Oh, should I?
Do you feel you share more or less with people online?
I think I share about the same as I do with people offline.
So, okay, does anonymity help or hinder? Anonymity, being anonymous, help or hinder?
Help, I guess.
Thank you. Have you ever moved on to meet others of an online group to face to face?
No.
Thank you. Have you ever left an online community or religious group?
No. I never really joined any in the first place.
Thank
so.
you. Do you have Muslim friends who are from groups or communities other than the one to which you belong? So you not belong to any online community.
Mm-hmm.
It's not applicable for you. And do you avoid either offline or online? Any topics? Do you avoid either offline or online? Any topics or websites?
Sometimes. I know there's some things that I just don't want to read because it'll be like upsetting, or points of view that I just don't like. So I guess no. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. What do you think about the different interpretations, different beliefs and practices within Islam and the Muslim community?
I don't I think it's fine, I guess. I think Islam has kind of always been like that in a way. There's always been people who are Sunni or Shia or practice differently. I think that's kind of nice. I don't really agree with people who say that, oh, if you practice in a certain way, you're not a Muslim. I think that's really haram, first of all, to say that. But it doesn't bother me at all.
Okay. What do you think about a different interpretation? Okay. What sources do you rely upon to inform you about the diversity within Islam and the Muslim community?
Usually it's from Twitter, I think. I've known of, like, because I study history, and a lot of the history I study is, like, of the Middle East. So I know that lots of diverse communities have existed for a long time, but also, like, on Twitter, people talk about their own personal practices and that kind of thing.
Thank you. What about the internet? Are you using internet in this way to learn about the diversity within Islam?
Yeah, mainly on Twitter.
Thank you. How often do you access information on other Muslim groups or doctrines on the internet?
Whenever I just have a specific question, like I said, I'll try to find all the different interpretations for all the different madhab. I followed like a couple sheikhs on Twitter. I follow this like Shia sheikh, and he's really good. I actually didn't know he was Shia till yesterday. But yeah.
Have your beliefs or practice about the differences that exist within Islam and the Muslim community changed in the last 5 years?
I guess I've learned more about it. Like I learned about, for example, like Ahmadiyya. I didn't really know about them. Oh, I just remembered. I am actually in this like religious group, but it's not just Muslims. It's called Abraham's Tent, and it's like Jews and Muslims, a group. I can't believe I forgot about that. But yeah, okay. So yeah, it's I've learned more about different practices within the last 5 years.
Thank you. What do you think that is?
Probably because first of all in Halifax, there's not that much of like religious diversity. I mean there is, but it's like mostly Sunnah and Shia, and I've already known about that. But I guess online you learn more about people who live in different countries, who practice in different ways, and yeah.
Has your internet usage anything to do with this change?
It has had everything to do with it.
Thank you. Do you have friends who are non-Muslims?
Yes.
And what about online?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think about living in a religiously plural society and a society with secular values such as the Canadian society?
It's fine. It's not like I mean, there's difficulties. Like for example, I think one of the most difficult things is actually like praying on time. Like because like you have class and you have to find somewhere to pray, and sometimes if I'm in public, I have to like ask to use random rooms and that kind of thing. But even like for example, like wearing hijab is not that hard. People are pretty nice. I guess the hardest thing is just like finding a place to pray. And fasting. Fasting is kind of hard.
Okay, what kinds of topics are discussed with your non-Muslim friends online about interreligious diversity?
I guess for example in the Abraham's Tent group, which is like a Jewish and Muslim group, people always ask different questions about each other's beliefs. So usually it's like asking about different people's practices and different people's beliefs, whether it's Muslims or Jews, and even Muslims asking other Muslims about their beliefs. Mainly it's about like practices, like do you do this certain thing or do you agree with this certain thing?
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Are these topics similar or different from those discussed with them offline?
I think it's really similar. Like even my friends who are maybe Christian or Jewish or not religious at all, we talk about like cultural practices, like things that we might have in common.
Thank you. When you are with your non-Muslims, either offline or online, do you avoid any topics or websites?
Sometimes there's certain, like if there's a certain issue that maybe I don't understand, I try to avoid talking about it because I don't understand it and I don't want to make a mistake. Like any issue like in fiqh or something, because obviously I don't know everything. So I avoid stuff that I don't know about, that I'm not comfortable talking about because I just don't know.
Thank you. Have you been involved in or do you participate in any formal interfaith groups or events, either interreligious or interreligious offline?
Formal interfaith group? Not really events that are like specifically related to like interreligious interaction.
Thank you. Have you accessed online interfaith groups online or blogs?
Yeah, the Facebook group that I'm in, that is the major one for me.
Okay. How much of an influence do they have on your personal faith?
My personal faith? To be honest, not that much. I just find it interesting to learn about what other people believe, but it doesn't really change my opinion.
Thank you. What about on your public practice?
Like nothing.
Thank you. Do you feel they deepen your faith or they trouble it or it doesn't matter?
It's neither. Like it's just like a curiosity for me.
Thank you. What sources do you depend on to inform you about the people of other religions?
Aside from just like reading and learning things in school, I guess it's usually like things like Twitter or Facebook or like groups like that.
What about your family, friends, religious leaders, Quran?
Inform me about other religions?
An exemption payment.
Oh, I guess offline, yeah.
Payroll, like payroll contracts.
Because like I said, I'm a history student, so I do a lot of like reading about these types of issues, but usually it's like in a historical context.
Thank you. Internet you mentioned already. How often do you access information on groups of other faiths on the internet?
I'd say like not often, but not rarely. Just like sometimes.
Thank you. Have your beliefs or practice about the differences between Muslims and non-Muslims changed in the last few years?
In a way, there's ways that were more common to each other and ways that were really different. I guess it's changed.
What do you think that is?
Well, I have a lot of friends who are like religious but are not Muslim, like Jewish friends, so it's interesting to learn about what their practices are and what we might have in common. Like for example, sometimes we both fast and that kind of thing. It's not really the internet, it's mainly like friends I have in real life.
Okay, what has your usage of internet anything to do with this change?
Maybe aside from like that one Facebook group that I'm in, not really. It's like mainly the friends I have.
Thank you. Now I'm going to read some concepts and I want you to compare it with the internet in terms of their influence on your religious life, okay?
Okay.
Like which one is more important, religious leaders or internet?
Which is more important?
In terms of your religious life, having influence on your religious life. Religious leaders, internet.
Probably leaders.
Your religious texts or internet?
Texts.
Your parents or internet?
Parents.
Your siblings or internet?
Siblings.
Your other relatives or internet?
In this case, internet.
Your friends or internet?
Friends.
Printed media or internet?
Printed media.
Okay, thank you. How important are the internet and digital technologies for you as a Muslim living in Canada?
Really important, but not really for religious reasons, mainly to know about news, especially as it relates to Muslim issues in Canada.
Thank you. Is there anything else you would like to add regarding your experience with the internet and digital technologies as a Muslim living in Canada?
I guess the one thing that the internet has really taught me about more is like, I guess Islamophobia. It's one of the first places I ever encountered it because like I said, in my daily life, I don't really see it, but that's the biggest impact on me as I use the internet as I grow is seeing that type of stuff because it's mainly online.
Okay, that's the end of the interview. Thank you.